She feels attracted to the good Lord, because kindness always attracts, but nothing more. She follows him confidently. And the poor girl, lost in the world and in the ignorance encouraged by the world, by the great world of mighty, pleasure-loving people who are keen in keeping inferiors in darkness in order to torture them more easily and exploit them more greedily. The poor girl loves him at once, instinctively. She will learn later who was that Sir, who was as poor, as homeless, and motherless as she was, who had no food because he had left everything out of his love for men. Also for her, a poor little frail girl, and she will understand that the Lord had given her miraculous fruit to remove from her lips and from her heart the bitterness of human wickedness, which makes poor people hate mighty ones. And he had done so by means of a fruit of the Father, and not by means of a crust of bread, which was offered too late, and in any case would have savoured of hardship and tears. Those apples really called to mind the apple of the earthly paradise. They appeared on the branch for good and for evil. They were the sign of redemption from all miseries. First of all, from the ignorance of God with regard to the two little orphans, and the sign of punishment for the man who, although he already was aware of the word, had behaved as if he were not. And she will learn from the good woman who made her welcome in Jesus' name who Jesus was. He was her manifold saviour from starvation, from the inclemency of the weather, from the dangers of the world, and from original sin. But Jesus always had for her the light of that day, and he always appeared to her in that light, the good Lord, as good as in fairy tales, the Lord who had caresses and gifts, the Lord who had made her forget that she had no father, mother, home and clothes, because he had been as kind to her as a father, as sweet as a mother. He had given a home to their tired bodies, and clothes to their naked limbs, with his own chest and mantle, and with the assistance of other good people who were with him. A kind, fatherly light, which did not fade in a stream of tears, not even when she learned that he had died, tortured on a cross, not even when, a little faithful believer of the early church, she saw how the face of her Lord had been disfigured by blows and thorns, and she considered how he was now in heaven at the right hand of the Father. A light that smiled at her in her last hour on the earth, leading her fearlessly towards her Saviour. A light that smiled once again at her in such an ineffably sweet manner in the splendour of paradise. Just a pause. Mary says that the face of Jesus was a light that smiled at the girl in her last hour on the earth, leading her fearlessly towards her Saviour. That word fearlessly, it makes me wonder whether this girl was a martyr in the end. That it seems hard to imagine that really committed Christians would live a long life and die of old age in many cases. Possible, of course, traditions of St. John, after persecution, died in old age. There's another tradition that he was martyred as well. And of course, some would lead their lives. That would be their station in life, not to die in the Roman arena or in some other way be martyred. But we don't know for sure, and because this little child is spoken of so much, it's intriguing to wonder whether she did in the end grow up and be a martyr for the faith. Anyway, to resume. Jesus looks also at you thus. Always think of him as your remote namesake did, and be happy to be loved by him. Be as simple, humble, and faithful as the poor little Mary you have known. See how far she arrived, notwithstanding that she was a poor little ignorant girl of Israel, at the heart of God. Love revealed himself to her, as he did to you, and she became learned in the true wisdom. Have faith. Be at peace. There is no misery which my son cannot turn into riches, and there is no solitude which he cannot replenish, as there is no fault which he cannot cancel. The past no longer exists once love has cancelled it. Not even a dreadful past. Are you going to be afraid when Dismas, the robber, was not? Love and be afraid of nothing. Mother leaves you with her blessing. And that reference to Dismas is, as most of you perhaps know, the good thief who was hanging on the cross next to Jesus, who repented of his sins and asked to be with Jesus in paradise, and Jesus said he would be.